Oh, let's talk nerdy to me. It's Cubbie Chats with me, Cubbie, and my guest today is an 80s enthusiast, a professional toy collector, and quite literally has a sunshine room. It's Kayla Shea. Welcome in.
Hello, hello. Nice to be here. This is everything I'm excited to talk about, honestly. Stranger Things, collecting toys, all that 80s. This is great.
This is going to be the perfect thing.
Yes.
Okay, we attended an event together. We were at the Upside Down Con. What did you
Yes.
think? What were your highlights?
Joe Curie.
Joe Keery, that's
Literally, pretty much. Yeah, no, but I literally have been a fan since Stranger Things came out. I know that's kind of cliche to say, but
Mhm.
since 2016, since season 1, I watched it kind of hardcore, and ever since I've been a fan. And the con was the first kind of opportunity that I had to meet everybody, I guess. So
Yeah.
I had to go. I'm in Oregon, so I took my mom, and we flew out to Georgia for the Upside Down Con, and it was absolutely amazing.
Were you always a Harrington stan from season one, or did he have to grow on you?
I was always
Really?
I was always a Steve girl. Yep, yep.
Oh my gosh.
So
Even in his like douchey era, he's still a Steve.
so I'm gonna get flack for this, but it just considering the situation with him seeing Jonathan in Nancy's room, and I mean that's kind of like a
Yeah.
protective boyfriend thing.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, like he said some things that were pretty bad, but I was kind of always a Steve girl and was happy to see that arch for him
Uh-huh.
going on to season 2 and 3 and so on. So yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the best. He definitely was a very good character that had probably one of the best like growth arcs.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, honestly, him and Nancy both did the best arcs. I mean, Nancy,
Yeah.
you kind of think she's probably gonna be like this popular weak, doughy-eyed girl, and then no, she's a total
No.
badass.
Right.
And
And
then
I
Steve
literally
just, he just from douche to the babysitter.
right. I
So
know.
it's kind of
To
crazy.
to the scoop, Steve. That's my favorite Steve.
Yeah, Scoop Strip all the
Yep.
way. Season
Yes.
3 was peak.
No,
Who did?
speaking
Go
speaking
ahead.
of speaking of Nancy and at the con with Natalia, I literally went up to her. I'm like, I mean, I'm sure she's heard it a million times, but I'm like, you're such a badass. Thank you for doing this for women and like that kind of thing
That's
too,
what I
right?
told her.
Yeah, yeah. She was
I
probably
said you're
got
a.
sick of it, but yeah.
I
So I was like,
literally. That's what exactly what I told. I said you're a badass. You're a baddie.
yeah.
And I was like, I, uh, I had the autograph, the photo op, and then the meet and greet,
Hmm.
and all three times I said the exact same thing. I was like, oh my gosh, try to say something different, but I could not. She's a
Right.
baddie.
I know. I've talked to this with so many people because the weird thing is I kind of like was familiar with people like they start coming up on my explore page for like
Uh-huh.
Stranger Things collectors. Like I think I saw you on the explore page. Um but yeah, I saw these people at the con and I'm like, "Oh, they kind of look familiar. They kind of look familiar." And then I get home and I start like looking up more and following people and now I've like become friends with everybody and I wish we could all met in person now.
I
Um
know.
but yeah, no, it's been fun to like hear everybody's experiences, like
Uh-huh.
especially at the con.
Yeah.
I've always liked that, like hearing interactions and stuff like that with everybody. So it's fun.
And I will say, like the Stranger Things cast, I'm not gonna say who or what, but I know there was a few maybe kind of bad apples, but for the most part, that Stranger Things cast is pretty nice, genuine for them being
Mhm.
big pop culture
Right.
icons. They're very nice, and they give you quite a bit of time. For most of my
Yes.
autos, when I was having a conversation, I got a good solid minute or two with them.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't
No.
ever feel like I was like rushed. When I met Joseph Quinn, that was right after season 4 dropped. I think part 1. I met him in June. His was
Where'd you see him?
I went to Dallas to Fan Expo, and then
I was there too.
really now
Yeah.
his was fast. He was still
Yes.
very pleasant, but
Hmm.
his was like 10 seconds. Let me sign your thing. Hello, how are you? And go.
Super speedy. Yeah.
Everybody, but his line was, I think he might have
Massive.
been the only star that really sold out
Yeah.
at that time. He
I
was
believe it.
packed. and not only that, they ended up adding more
Mm-hmm.
to him. So I want to say
Yeah.
he was the only one that I think ever felt rushed. Probably not. That's not his fault. That's probably them
Right. The
grabbing
over
money and
this is selling more. Yeah.
opening up
Yeah.
more tickets for him. But yeah, that was probably the
Right.
only time I've ever been rushed by like. And he said my name was cute. He was like, "Are you Cubbie or Cubby?" I was like, "Oh, it's Cubby." He's like, "That's so cute." I'm like, "Yeah, thank you."
I think I went to New Orleans Fan Expo I think 2 years ago now when he did his first US con.
Uh-huh.
So I went to that one. I went to Dallas, and I went to Portland, which is right here. But I saw Joseph Quinn at all of those. Um, but at the Dallas one, I think one of the signings that stood out to me, I went up to him, and of course, again, why we're here, but I kind of asked him like if he collected anything, if he
Right.
like, and I fully expected him to say, "Oh, like, yeah, shoes or like watches or something like that." He's like, "I collect candles." I'm like,
What?
"Oh." I'm like, "Okay." And he kind of like laughed because I was literally like, "Oh." And he's like, "There's this brand called Lalabo or Lalarbo or something like that."
Like the
And with
cologne?
I think so. I
Oh,
had to
they make candles?
well, I have to do more research, but I did research after that, but I literally couldn't understand with this accent what he was saying.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, "What? What? What?" And then he was like laughing. My sister was with me and she's like this and I'm like, "Oh, okay." Cuz I was nervous and I was like trying to process everything and like I was trying to hear him. I'm like, I don't know what he's saying, but he said candles and I'm like, "Hmm,
Wow.
okay." So Joseph Quinn likes candles.
I bet this place smells so good. Now I'm
Right.
wondering if Le Labo sells candles. I'm gonna look into that. Le
Yeah.
Labo's like this like really like famous
They're expensive,
like
right?
it's super expensive. I think
Yeah.
it's like a grand. Um but a lot of these like famous celebrities wear it and it's like the thing they become like known for because like I know like this is like so weird because I'm in my 30s, but Niall Horan from One Direction,
Mhm.
he wears Le Labo and that was the thing he was famous for was smelling good. So now I
Oh.
wonder if I wonder if Joe wears it.
Maybe. I don't recall. It's so weird. Like, out of my friends and just other fans and stuff like that, the amount of times I've been asked how people smell and, like, did you smell
I
them?
pay
I'm like,
attention.
I
Yes.
don't.
Really?
I, like, space out and, like, I get all, like, oh, but yeah, no, I mean, I don't remember, obviously, any of them smelling bad, but I'm
Right.
like, I don't ever go up and go, like, and smell them or whatever, but,
Like,
it's
yeah,
funny.
in the photo op, I pay attention.
Yeah. Right?
I will say off the top of my head already, Charlie, Jamie, and Noah best. I asked Noah because his smelled really good. Louis
I heard
Vuitton.
that, yeah.
Louis Vuitton.
Mm.
I was gonna make a joke and be like, "Oh, that just called me poor," because I was like, I can't afford Louis Vuitton. I was like, "Oh, I don't know if he's gonna get that or if it's gonna go over well," you
Yeah.
know. But I was
Yes.
like, "Oh, damn, Louis Vuitton."
Well,
But
it's so funny because it reminded me when you said Jamie, but when I went into his photo op, I do remember this, but I went in and I think I hugged him in the picture and then afterwards he's like, "Oh my gosh, you smell good." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks." He goes, "You smell so clean. You smell like soap." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And I'm like, "You smell good too." And he's like, "No, I smell like coffee." I'm like, "Oh." I'm just like, "Okay." But yeah.
that that man has way too much swagger. He is
He's
so
so
smooth with
cool.
it.
I know.
Like
Yeah.
literally the definition of cool.
Yes.
His
Totally.
rings, his style, it's like this like rocker chic
Rock
kind of
star.
look.
Yeah.
I mean, swag.
Yes.
Even
I'm actually gonna go to Fan Expo Orlando in like a couple weeks and I'm gonna see him and Joe again. So I'm excited for that.
oh my gosh, that's gonna
Yeah.
be so exciting.
Yes, I'm very excited.
I want I was trying to think. I was like, is that the one Millie's going to?
Yes. I'm
They're
still on
all
the
three being
fence. Yeah, but they're
yeah.
all three gonna be there. Yep.
Dang, that's gonna be so exciting.
Yes.
Especially now because like this is like such a good time to get in with Joseph Quinn again because
Right.
Fantastic Four is about to drop this
Yes.
year, and I'm so excited for that too.
Yeah. and I don't know how many more cons he's gonna do. So I was like, I wasn't gonna go just
Mm-hmm.
for him. I kind of, especially like the upside down con, I want to go because there's gonna be so many of them, and you can kind of knock out so many at a time.
Right.
And I actually met my friend Alyssa. She lives in Orlando. We met through Stranger Things and through like going to the con last year. And
Uh,
so I'm gonna meet up with her there. So I'm really excited for that. And we're gonna go see Joe and Jamie. Yeah, we're really excited. So
that's. I wonder if they're gonna do a. They'd be like besties. I wonder if they're gonna do a photo op together.
they
Do
are.
they
I
have
already
them?
purchased it.
You really?
Yeah,
That's perfect.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
perfect.
I'm
That's gonna be
excited.
like the hottest thing of chaos
Right.
right there.
I know.
That's
I'm like,
crazy.
and we have this thing we're gonna wear our Joe Carey shirts, and I'm like, this is probably the closest thing I'm gonna get to a picture with all three of them together. So we're gonna do
Right.
that. But yeah, so but again with the con, it's just like to have so many of them, especially the ones that just don't do cons really.
Right.
That was like the nicest part of that. So
That's true. I was really hoping. I don't think Sadie's ever done one con. So
she has, I think she before I moved to Oregon, I think she did Emerald City Comic Con with Caleb and Kate.
really,
Yeah. That's the only one I ever recall her
I feel
doing.
like after Sadie, I love you, but I feel like after the whale and all the Oscar buzz,
Right.
I feel like
Yeah.
that might have been it.
Yes. But she's going
So
on Broadway again, so people might be able to see her at like stage door or something.
I know I might have to like figure out if I can get there again because I'm going to the Stranger Things one in March.
Mm.
But I might have to go and see if I can just get like a playbill signed or something. It's
Yes,
probably
yeah.
the only way at this point. And
Mhm.
forget about Winona. I'm never gonna. Winona's
Right?
never doing cons ever.
I was
So
really hoping, I thought for sure for some reason David Harbour was going to be at the con, and
I
that's
would
like
have.
he's like one of my tops too. I really wish he came.
I would have lost it.
Right?
I would have been arrested at that con. There's no way.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, and I think he was New York Comic Con
Yes.
was the same
Hmm.
weekend, so he was there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know you said Joseph Quinn, the candle collector,
Hmm.
which now we have that in common. We're all three of us collectors. Look
Yes.
at us. But okay, talk to me a little bit about your collection because your collection's first of all a huge collection. It's very and aesthetically, it's beautiful. It's very bright and airy. But talk to me a little bit about these dolls because I'm unfamiliar with them.
Yes.
Where are they
So
from?
Um, yeah, it's a big story to get into, but so my family and I, we actually started kind of collecting and buying, reselling vintage stuff
Uh-huh.
probably like 10 or 11 years ago. And I was born and raised in Arizona, so we had like spots in like different antique malls and stuff like that. And I worked at my the only jobs I've literally ever had are antique stores, and now I own my own business.
Wow.
But yeah, so my sister and I worked at two different antique malls. My sister managed one of the largest ones in Arizona.
Uh-huh.
And then my family, my mom had a booth there. And then we moved to Oregon, and that was about 5 or 6 years ago now. And then we opened up a shop here, and we've been doing very
Wow.
well. But yeah, so that's I've been collecting during all that time. So it's just referred to as vintage squeak toys, and they're actually for kids. A lot of people think they're like dog toys or something like that, but they were for kids.
Yeah.
So and I've literally all ever since I was little, I've been a collector of something. I
Uh-huh.
used to let my cats out. My cat's scratching at my door. Um
Yeah, you guys, she has like the biggest collection. So many like um yeah, they're vintage dolls. You guys have to check it out.
yeah. So but yeah, so they're vintage squeak toys, but like I was saying, I collected ever since I was little, and I started with Star Wars toys, and
Really?
I had a lot of toys when I was young.
Yeah.
So like I collected a lot of toys, I meant. So yeah, I had like R2D2s, I had the little books of Star Wars characters,
Right.
all the action figures, a bunch of different things. And then um the other part that comes into play too, I've always kind of been a seller. My mom has kind of instilled me to like
Uh-huh.
make a business and be an entrepreneur.
Right.
And I go through phases very quick, but the toys and Stranger Things I think have been the longest things that I've ever collected.
I've never
Um,
related to more to something in my life.
right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, so I've collected a lot of things and been through a lot of different phases. And so when I was done with the Star Wars toys, I literally was like, "Mom, can I sell these on eBay?" So
Mhm.
I sold a bunch on eBay, and then eventually we were helping my grandma move out of her house before she passed away, and I sold a bunch of my Star Wars toys at the garage sale too. So made money off of that, and then just start collecting something else. And
Right.
if something came in like five different colors or five different styles, that's why Funkos are so bad.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I literally had to buy them all, like even if it was the slightest difference or the different color and stuff like that. So I've always
Okay,
been that way.
that's a good point because like in the like collector like space, like I would be a completionist. So do you feel that way
Mhm.
too? Like if you start a line, whether it's your favorite character Funko, whether it's like
Mhm.
a specific toy line, do you feel like you have to finish it? Because I always do.
Yes.
I feel incomplete. Like
Yes.
I know what's missing, I know what needs to be finished. Bugs me.
Mhm.
I I envy the people who can just say, I'm just gonna collect my favorite character. I'm just
Right?
gonna grab this and I'm gonna be okay and
Mhm.
that's it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
uh, I kind of want it all. So,
Yes. Well, that's part of being like the fandom, honestly. It's just like
hmm
I feel like that's part of being a fan to me. I mean, I know some people are like, oh, I don't need it, but I don't know. I feel that kind of way, and it's hard because I mean, not only with like Stranger Things collectibles and like Funkos and stuff, but some of them are more valuable and harder to like obtain and stuff like that.
exactly. Yeah.
So that's the hard part about being a complete, being a person that wants to have them all.
Yeah.
Um, and it's the same with kind of vintage because sometimes they didn't make as many. Sometimes they probably had exclusives as well. Like ones,
hmm
they just didn't put them out everywhere. Like there's different ones in Canada, there's different ones in France, that kind of thing.
Oh my gosh.
Um, yeah, so I collect a couple different styles and manufacturers and like creators that made them and stuff like that. And it's a lot of people might look at this and I mean just the quantity is overwhelming, but a lot of people don't know that a lot of them have a lot of value as well. So
Right?
it's the same with the toys. So part of being a reseller too and having a vintage business, you have to go out and you have to go to estate sales, garage sales, thrift stores, stuff like that to go find and go to flea markets and different things to source
What a good
things.
what a good business. Like you
Right?
get to
It's a
shop.
dream.
Your
Yeah.
job is to
Yeah.
shop and go
Yeah.
find merch.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
It's
I'm in the
it,
wrong field.
what do you do for
This.
this? This is a fun field. I would love to do this. I've wanted to do this for so long. I almost started one too.
Yeah, this is episode 3,
Nice.
but it's so far it's been great.
Good.
So far it's been great.
Well,
So,
I'm happy to be here. Um
yeah, I'm happy you're here too.
um
Um, what does like your like when you go into your collection room, because I say this all the time, do you feel like it's like your safe zone, like your like little and I can't think of the word now, like your place of serenity?
your
That's what
little
I
your
come in
little
here.
bubble. Yeah.
I come in here and I'm like, this is where I work, where I'm
Hmm.
creative. My kids come in here, half the time they're writing, drawing, and it's like the creative space. And
Yeah.
it's like create the space that you need. Do you feel like it's like that with yours?
I do. I think it's kind of we've kind of learned that it doesn't matter where you are, but it's with like your at your home, wherever your home
Mm-hmm.
is with your family, and
Right.
it's just nice to be surrounded by stuff like this too that you love. But yeah, for sure, I feel like we don't get too much time at home anymore. We're constantly on the run doing stuff. But
Mhm.
yeah, days like this, like I'm off today, and yeah, it's nice just to kind of sit in here and like it does. I mean, it like does something for you, even with like the vintage community.
Yeah,
I've known a lot of them for a really long time, and everybody's kind of the same way and collects a lot of the same stuff. And it's just yeah, it's a nice little place to be in and share your fun and show it with everybody else.
it really is. That's I that's what I try to tell people too. But which brings me to my next point. Do you get a lot of crap for being an adult collector, an adult toy collector?
Um, Honestly, yes and no. There's been little things like comments and stuff like that throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that hurts me too bad, knock on wood, but yeah, no, I mean like somebody made like an account about me one time and like that kind of thing, so that's kind of hard. But
An account just to hate on you?
yeah,
Dang.
like an Instagram, they like posted saying I was lying about the stuff I had and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm right here. Um
Dang.
yeah, so but it's not too bad honestly, and like I said, I think most of my following on Instagram is people that collect vintage stuff mainly
Mhm.
and are collectors, and a lot of them are my age, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I mean, it's a wide range for vintage, so they're all pretty like accepting and nice and stuff like that for that part. But the funny thing is, at our store, my sister and I were both. I'm in my late 20s, she's in her early 30s, but we when we work, sometimes people will come up and like, do you know what this is? Do you even know, like, are you
Yeah.
you're not old enough? And
Question,
it's
right.
like, and then I'm like, well, but here you go, here's all the information about it, and they're like, oh, so yeah, I get that kind of thing a lot, but not too much like shame about collecting, honestly.
Man. Yeah, I will say I'm so glad you said like what I want people to know is like there are adults and older adults who still enjoy collecting,
Mhm.
and there's nothing wrong with it. And you know what? That's a really, I think you made really good points there. I think that most of the time, people who have ever given me crap probably have been young people
Mm.
who have this like false narrative about being an adult. And I always say, like, just because I'm older doesn't mean I have to be boring, doesn't mean my
Mhm.
life is over. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like,
Right.
the fun doesn't stop just because I'm in my 30s.
Yeah.
But yeah, you made good points there. It's always been like, and honestly, some of my biggest like millennial, I'm shout out, millennial women have been my biggest supporters.
Yeah.
Like that, they always show up. The other collectors, they always show up, and like they're always like encouraging. And if they, some of them, if they ever see a negative comment, they do the clap back for me. I don't have to do it.
That's nice. Yeah.
Um, okay, so now that we're talking about maybe like not to like age us a little bit, but you're an 80s enthusiast.
Mhm.
What's your favorite part? And did like, is that why Stranger Things became a passion because it's set in the 80s?
That's a good question. I think I started getting to the 80s like I, probably like 6 or 7 years ago. I haven't been like the whole time
Really?
we've done vintage. When I first started collecting vintage stuff, I actually was into like 60s and 70s like TV shows and music. So
Nice.
yeah, so I was really big into like especially like the Monkees, the Brady Bunch, Partridge Family, Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, all the old TV shows and stuff like that.
TV Land.
Right. And I my major in school too in college, I want to be into film and stuff like that. So I wanted to do something to do with that world, and we actually almost moved to California, and because my sister does animation and stuff like that, and
Whoa,
I
that's
wanted,
cool.
yeah, I wanted to do film, and so we're like, oh, that's a perfect place to be, but we ended up kind of like, oh, I don't know if we want to be in California, and then we moved up here to the
Mhm.
Pacific Northwest. But yeah, so I used to go on all the studio tours, and I should mention we lived in Arizona. I was born and raised there, like I said, and we were only like a 6-hour drive from the LA area.
Right.
And so we would go there. We would go to Disneyland. I pretty much felt like I grew up there. So we that's kind of what started my film obsession since I was young, honestly. And
Nice.
then yeah, then when we got into the vintage and stuff, I started collecting all that. I went and saw like the monkeys and like different people in person and met them, and just started collecting that kind of memorabilia.
Was it stuff that
So
your parents like always just like had around and it kind of just trickled down to you? Or was it something you found like on your own?
Actually, my mom, her side of the family actually like was in the antique business.
Hmm.
And when my mom was young and like before she had us and like right around when she had us, she was like, "Oh, I just want new. I don't want like the old stuff." And
Right.
my sister wouldn't even step foot into a Goodwill for the longest
Oh
time.
my gosh.
But now it's funny because this is what we do. But yeah, so it's just I don't know. What I was
And
gonna
it's so
say.
trendy. It's so trendy now to like your thrift store finds, being thrifty, and it's
Right.
like there's a whole like side of like TikTok and
Mhm.
on any social media app, there's a
Yeah.
whole corner of it that is just that. And some people, and this is what makes me jealous. Some people find incredible things there,
Hmm.
and I've gone, when it's like a rainy day and I'm bored, just to go look. Nothing.
Right.
Like, how do y'all find this stuff?
It's
That's
hard.
yeah. I guess it really is just like timing.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, of course, right place, right time. But I think a lot of people like, like if people come in and, I mean, it's kind of common knowledge for vintage antiques stores and places, and you barter with prices and stuff like
Right.
that
Right.
sometimes. And a lot of people will come in and, they'll kind of like haggle on stuff. And then you're like, how hard that took me to find, and how rare that is, and how good
Yeah.
shape that is. And yeah. So, but yeah, sourcing is definitely, it's not as easy as everybody thinks it is. I mean, some
Yep.
people get very lucky, and I know some areas probably have honey holes and like good spots. But yeah, no, it's a full time. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's just a hobby," and it's like it's not. It's a full time business, full time job. So yeah, I'm very blessed to do it, especially with my family. So
Yeah. I mean, do you guys ever in your family business? Do you guys work well together? I always wonder about the dynamic.
yes, yeah, no, we really do actually. But yeah, we knock on wood, we don't really fight or anything. And there's little bit, I mean, just like any business partners, sometimes you don't agree on little things, but
Right.
we're all very like-minded. So it's
Hmm.
very nice, of course, because it's my mom and my sister. But yeah, no, it works really well. And yeah, we're coming up on our 5th anniversary for our shop. So it's very
Oh,
exciting.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Congratulations. That's a
Thank you.
big milestone.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think so. And it's we opened right when COVID started.
Mm.
So a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're not gonna make it. You're gonna yeah." So it's
Yep.
just we had nothing to compare it to, but we like I said, we've been very blessed how it's gone. So and hope to continue doing this. Honestly, it's like a dream job. So yeah, keep going with it. So
Yeah, it sounds like it. Like I said, you
yeah.
get to shop around and be around all these awesome collectibles.
Yes, yeah.
You need to
And
get in that.
it's just fun through the people you meet too. So it's like online or in person too. It's a nice little you'd be surprised how many people collect or how many people are into certain things. We've
Yeah.
had some people come in and I'm like, "Oh, that's so and so or that's this." And it's just like so yeah.
Um, yeah, that's my favorite part too, is like I like knowing why people collect the things they do,
Mhm.
what interests them, which is the
Yeah.
point of this podcast. But
Yeah.
what would you say is like the most prized possession or like maybe one of the rarest things in your shop right now?
Oh, in our shop? I don't know. And I don't even mean to say this in like a self-centered or cocky way. We don't hold on to stuff that long. Like we try
Toot
to
your own horn.
I know,
Toot that
right?
horn.
But
Good for
like
you.
sometimes, and not knocking any ones, but like certain vintage shop, antique shops, a lot of them don't have like movement that much.
Right?
Like you can tell they don't put any effort into some things. But I mean, again, another thing my mom's taught me is just to work very hard and to like, work for what you love and believe in and stuff like that. So,
Right, totally.
so we try to keep things moving and fresh, and we do a lot of online selling. I've been doing it the last couple years just personally with the toys and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But we do this thing where we go live into our shop and you can buy from the live. So it's kind of cool.
Oh, that
And
is cool.
yeah, so we've been doing that for the last year or so. We just did one the other day and they've been going very well. So, yeah.
Is it a Instagram thing? Is it a TikTok thing?
Instagram. Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah. And I don't know if I
Okay.
mentioned it, if I can, but the business is called Three Daisies Vintage. If anybody's interested in
Shout out
taking a
Three
check
Daisies.
out, yes. So
Three Daisies Vintage. There's my speech
yes,
impediment coming in. Good thing I don't need to talk all the time. Three
right.
Daisies Vintage.
Yes,
There you go. You guys make
yes.
sure, give them a follow.
Thank you. Yeah,
That is, yeah, but that's so, honestly, that's, like I said, that's so awesome and epic because you get to be with your family all the time,
yes.
which it sounds like it's a good thing. The collectibles,
Mhm.
I mean, dream job.
Right, it is, and we get to like when I go to Fan Expo next month, and when we go different places, like even when we went to Georgia for the con, we are always sourcing. So we buy stuff
Smart.
and we bring stuff with us, or we ship stuff. Like we go to Massachusetts, we're going there in a few months. We'll go there and do something certain, and then shop while we're there too. So it's a nice little thing because it's like a business thing the whole time. Then,
Yep,
so yeah,
that's good.
yeah.
And what I learned was when everything has a business purpose, everything becomes a business write-off.
Right? That's exactly what.
Yep.
Yep.
Let's talk about this Stranger Things collection because I can see a
Yeah.
huge portion of it behind you.
Mhm.
Is there anything that's like your absolute favorite thing?
Um, honestly, with the
Is that
Stranger
Wonder? Is that a Wonderland magazine with Joseph Quinn?
Joe Carey.
Joe Keery.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have Joseph Quinn's too, but yeah. Um, you can tell those are my two favorites. But no, I think the out of the Stranger Things stuff, being in Georgia last time, of course, with the school being demolished, we
Remember
went there and I got some pieces of the brick and like little
Brick,
pieces of the paint, the green and white
the
paint and
mural.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So I honestly think that was I think one of my
Yeah.
favorite things now.
Yep.
And yeah, I got a whole brick and I didn't think of it while I was there. I just of course got one and then I'm like, I have to fly home with this. I wonder if they'll let me. And I didn't have checked bags, so I'm like, I don't think they'll let me take a brick on the plane. But let's Google it. And I from what I could see, you weren't allowed to, so I got nervous and I shipped it. But I think some people said they
Brought it.
carried it on the plane. Yeah. So, but
I
yeah,
wonder if anybody had to pay extra fees because the brick is heavy. Like,
like
you know
on
what
the
I mean?
plane,
Like, yeah, when you check your baggage, you have to have
I,
a brick in there now.
right? Well,
That's what I was thinking about.
I think I told somebody, yeah, I know I could have Angela'd somebody with that brick on the plane. So I assumed they wouldn't let you on the plane with the brick. So yeah,
Wonder, I got to think about like all the people like TSA working at Atlanta Airport and all these Stranger Things fans are coming through and
right.
why has everybody got a brick? People who didn't ship, why has everybody got a brick in
Why's
here?
everybody got a brick? Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
I'll
was
just tell you.
nervous. I was nervous too because coming to Georgia, I've had this little thing. So I went to the meet and greet with Joe on
Uh,
Sunday at the con, and I had this little I haven't shared this really too much, but I had this little 8 ball and it was a vintage lighter
oh,
and
no way.
I literally have had it for like the last however long since Decide came out, his last album. And I'm like, if I ever meet Joe Carey someday, I'll give this to him, thinking I'm
Yeah,
never gonna meet him. And then this came up, and so I brought that with me on the plane, and I don't think it worked anymore, but because I tried seeing if it needed fluid or anything like that, but I'm like, oh, I think he'll think this is cool. So I was worried they were gonna like stop me at the airport with that for some reason, but I don't
yeah.
know. Luckily, it made it through. Gave it to him, and it's all good. So yeah.
Dang. What was the meet and greet like?
A blur. But no,
Uh,
yeah, it was fun. I literally did you go to any meet and greets with the
I went
Stranger
to
Things?
Natalia's in Mason Dice.
Oh, nice, nice. No,
Yes.
it, was it really hard for you to get tickets?
The minute Natalia's popped up, I being the number one Nancy stan, I grabbed it.
Yeah.
And then I actually had I actually had meet and greet tickets for Charlie
Hmm.
and that was okay. So Friday night they filmed super late into the morning,
Right.
like 3, 4 a.m. So
Mm-hmm.
Natalia's was in the morning, and they bumped hers, which was the same time as Charlie's. So I had to let
Oh.
Charlie's go, which I
Oh
was
no.
devastated.
Yes.
But then I was like, well, I'll just end up picking up something else. So I just went and grabbed
Masons.
Mason's, and he
Nice.
was actually it was so small, 5 people, and it was actually probably
Oh.
one of the most incredible things. Number one, probably
Wow.
actually of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, getting tickets hard, especially for Joe Keery. Everything sold out.
I not gonna lie, I think I cried when I got them, but literally I had my sister and my mom trying, and then I was trying, and two of us were at our shop, and my sister was at home, and so, and of course we had customers in while I'm trying, sorry, my eyes watering, while it was going on, and literally, yeah, the clock turned, and it said sold out. It didn't even give me the option. Like,
Hmm.
and so I was like, "Oh my gosh, I missed it." And then my mom's like, "I didn't get it too." I'm like, "Oh, great." Like so I went and sat down, and my sister's like kind of like, "Oh, is this how you do it?" and stuff like that. And then so we didn't hear from her for like a minute or two, and my mom's like, "I think she got them." And I'm like, "I don't think so." I'm like, "Those are gone." Like, and then my sister messaged me and she's like, "I got them, I think." And she sent me a screenshot of the Sunday one. I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Like, so
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it was, yeah.
yeah, his stuff. I think he was one of the first guests announced to
Mhm.
sold out crazy fast
Yeah.
every time. And then they had
Mhm.
the ice cream meet and greet with him and
Yeah.
Robin. Jeez, that was one that I was like, okay, I'm gonna grab this because that's really cool.
Yeah.
Gone
On.
so
I know.
fast. I mean,
Well, and
I don't blame people either. That's like
yeah.
a huge part of season Stranger Things in general, but
Mhm.
especially season 3.
Well, and I was so shocked because some of the people that were at the Sunday meet and greet were at the ice cream social too, and I'm like, how did you get this? Like, how did you get
Yeah,
both? Like, I
I
could barely get the one.
yeah, I don't know how people got into multiple things. And
Right?
this is my Mason meet and greet actually. So like in my Natalia one, I might have already talked about this in another episode. Sorry guys, but in my Natalia one, there was kind of one guy that was like taking over the meet and greet because it's like a Q&A, you know.
Mhm.
And I was like, I don't want to be that guy. And
Mhm.
one of the girls from Skull Rock broadcast was with me,
Mhm.
and she elbowed me and she was like, "Ask,"
Yeah.
and she was like, "Make sure you get your question in." And so when I went to the Mason, I was like, "Okay, I want to make sure I get my questions, but I'm not going to overstep."
Mhm.
Three, there was 5 of us there. 3 of the girls had already had another meet and greet with them before, and went to trivia night with him.
Mhm.
So they didn't say anything at all, and I'm like,
Right.
"How do you guys?" Oh, like,
Well, it's like, why do you
yes,
do it too? Yeah.
I was like, yeah, Mason is absolutely incredible, but
Yeah.
is there not anybody else? Like
Right.
almost the entire cast is here. So I
Mhm.
was like really shocked people did multiple meet and greets of the same for the
I
same
didn't.
person.
I didn't know. Did Mason have more than one meet and greet?
I think um, good question. I don't know. Off the top of
Mm.
my head, I don't know.
Mhm.
But yeah, there was 5 of us there. 3 of the girls had already been there. And so they weren't asking him anything. So it was the girl next to me. And then I was like, I felt bad because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like asking him all these things, but he's very conversational, so it's
Oh
very much
yeah.
back and forth. So
Mhm.
he was fantastic at that.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh my god, I'm taking over the meet and greet,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I became the person that I hated. But
Oh, well, no, I was trying to build up enough confidence to ask a question at the Joe meet and greet. So I think, yeah, I'm sure you've heard, but when we went into the meet and greet, it was at the library right in the middle, or the
oh
welcome
yeah,
center. So we went upstairs to like the old where the judge goes, the old
like
I'm drawing a
courtroom.
blank, courtroom, yeah.
Uh,
Drawing a blank on that word. So we were in there and the alarm was going off the whole time.
oh my
So
gosh.
there was this loud fire alarm going off, and they couldn't get, I guess one of the smoke machines downstairs, they said, set it off.
Oh yeah.
And they just, I guess, built another building, and somebody had to go get the key from the other building and run it over. But yeah, when Joe came in, he was just like, what's going on? Like, so it was literally going on probably like majority of the time with meet and greet. So it was kind of frustrating, but it finally went off and he like screamed, like cheered, and
Hmm.
everybody just started clapping and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I asked my question during the fire alarm, so it was kind of hard to I had to like lean in and
And
he was right
here,
right in the front. Yeah. So yeah, I asked two questions and then it was pretty good with ours. I think a couple people kind of bounced back and forth and nobody
Mhm.
really like hogged the floor or anything like that. So it was really nice. And then we got all of our little pictures and selfies at the end and then I gave him the magic 8 ball that I had for him. Yeah, and he really liked it. So,
Nice,
yeah.
nice. And you know what I also will say about Joe, and this actually goes for Maya too. You can definitely see how they influence their character, and probably vice
Hmm.
versa.
Oh my
When
gosh, yes,
Joe
yeah.
talks, it's very much, and yes, they're the same person, but
Right.
the characteristics and the mannerisms
Hmm.
of Joe, Steve Harrington, like the
Literally.
way he's a little bit like over the top and a little bit
Yeah.
eccentric about things. I'm like, oh, that's actually you doing that.
It's so funny you say that because when he was at the meet and greet, I literally he sat down and he was talking, but yeah, he had so many different things. I'm like, whoa, Steve Harrington, whoa, Steve Harrington,
Uh-huh.
like that kind of thing. And he had
Yeah.
a baseball cap on and he took off the baseball cap and he put his hair up and then that kind of sold it for me too. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's kind of like I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so
It,
much so.
it's crazy. Like you can see how they blend in like that small amount of like time. You can see how much they like blend Joe Keery and Steve
Mhm.
Harrington. And
Yes.
yes, you guys, I know they're the same person, but you like when you see him and like hear how he talks,
Hmm.
like it's what he does for Steve Harrington.
Right.
They could the blending. It's almost the exact same person.
Yes.
Same thing with Maya. Maya,
Hmm.
first of all, she speaks so like direct and elegant, but she speaks fast.
Yes.
Fast. I'm not even
Hmm.
kidding. She has a whole um what a whole monologue. She's delivering a whole monologue to you in like 60 seconds.
Right.
And I'm like, dang, now it makes sense for Robin.
That's
Because
perfect.
Robin's
Yeah.
very wired and ready to go and
Hmm.
feels like she's running on caffeine. It's Maya.
Yes. Yeah, it's just my
And
they're
if
all
anybody
sorry,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, you
No,
go.
go ahead. Go for it. Go for it.
No, I was gonna say they were all like super beyond nice, but uh I've always heard great things about all of them, but Gaten and Caleb were so like animated too. They were like a
Mhm.
lot like I felt like Gaten was like super funny and like Caleb was really funny and he was really nice. And when I went up
Yeah.
to them, this is another thing how like this I am at meet and greets, but or at like the photo ops. So I went to trivia night as well with Mason, and
Uh-huh.
I ended up getting second place in the trivia. So the little or not little, but the prize was a photo op with the three boys. So I got a
Oh,
photo
nice.
with Noah, Caleb, and Gayton. So, and my mom was on my team too, so we got two tickets technically. And so when I went in to get my picture with the boys, I literally was gonna do one by myself, and then the other ticket, I wanted my mom to be in one because she was kind of
Uh,
experiencing it all with me.
yeah.
So, so I got my photo with the boys, and then all of a sudden the camera clicks and they're like, no, wait, stay there. We're going to do another one. And I'm like, wait, why? And I was going to like move. So I was in between two different spots for the picture.
Uh-huh.
And so then we take one more. And then my mom comes in. We take one last one. And the guy was like, you're going to want to check that first photo. And I'm like, what? And I look, and Joe Carey pops his head in right next to Gayton, and nobody knew he was there except the people that could see all in the front
Behind.
of us, right?
Yeah.
The camera clicked, and he was gone already. I literally turned around, and I think Caleb might have seen him a little bit, but everybody like Gayton was like clueless, and yeah, so it reminded me when I went up to Caleb and Gayton at the autograph, and I showed them the picture, and they're like, oh my gosh, like they were like freaking out and they were like, he never does that. And Caleb's like, he's a Pokemon, you gotta catch him. And he's like saying all this stuff. It was so funny. So,
Oh, what a good photo though.
right?
Like
Didn't
literally,
expect it.
man, that's
Yeah.
getting your money's worth there. Who
Right.
was how many people were on your team for the trivia?
Um, my mom and I, and then three other girls, which is a weird story how I met them, but they were super nice, and I know them now. But there was five of us.
I was trying to think if my friend was on your team or not. I wanted to say maybe not. Did you have another Kayla there?
No, there's a Kelly on my team,
No. Okay,
but
I'm
not
thinking.
Kayla.
I was like, my friend was there too, and I think she said they were like very close, but the last question about everybody's date of birth threw everybody off. And I think
Yes.
the first place team was maybe the only one that got it. And it sounded like on a technicality. It didn't sound like,
Right. The first place was kind of iffy. Like it was kind of fishy how that happened, I think. But the teams, it was super odd how they broke it up. And the trivia was very, very long. It was very drawn out. I thought it was like 2 hours long, I think.
yeah,
And we were all just sitting right in the front panel rows, just and the Mason was right in front. But yeah, everybody's points, it's weird. We had missed one question, I think, or got something missed wrong or something like that.
uh
But the girl on my team, Kelly, she actually was like spot on with the ages, so that's how we got into the final draw. Because
right.
everybody, there was so many other teams that had more points than us, but since she got that one right, we got into a tiebreaker with another team.
Mm.
And then I had to go up front because they said somebody from each team, you have to come up here and answer a last minute question. So Mason literally like got on his knees, and me and another girl were standing here, and we had to like hit his hand to like who was first or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a video of it. It's so stupid, but I like hit it really fast. But yeah, my hand like hit first, and the question was who's Dustin's girlfriend, and I'm like before I even there was a pause for the answer. I'm like Susie, and Mason like laughed and he like shook my hand, and then that's how I got the photo op with the boys.
Hey,
Yeah,
I, I feel like I see you obviously can do well under pressure. Me, if that was
sometimes.
me and that was the question, which honestly, watch the show, not a hard question.
Mhm.
But me, I would have been panicking.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I've been flustered. I've been like, I've never seen this show in my life. I have no
Right.
idea who that is. I don't even know who
Who's
Dustin is.
Dustin? Yeah.
That would have been me.
Yeah.
I don't know who this guy is. But how cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, so people were saying too, Mason was a great host,
Yeah. He was
filling in
great.
time with you guys, like talking and chatting, filling in the time while everybody checked the answers.
Yes. Yeah, there was a lot of downtime, like I said, where they checked the answers. So everybody, it was literally just like a Q&A for Mason then too, and everybody was just talking and chatting and stuff with them. So it was fun. But yeah.
I will say, I think he was probably the highlight of my weekend. I
Oh,
didn't
really?
like, I walked away being a huge Mason Die fan.
Yes.
It was just so nice. And he
Yeah.
said in our meet and greet, he was just saying things like, he accidentally said what town he lived in. He's like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. We are talking about the boys, and he was like, oh, probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
It was very much like Hagrid and Harry Potter.
Mhm.
Like, oops, I shouldn't have told you that.
Yeah.
That was him.
Yeah.
But he was fantastic. So
Yeah.
shout out Mason.
Shout out Mason. I know after the Q&A with my friend, I'm like, okay, I want to get a picture with Mason now because I didn't have a picture. I only had
Mhm.
pictures with like I mean the main people, I guess. But so I ended up getting a picture with Mason. I'm like, oh, thanks for trivia, and he's like, anytime. And so yeah, so it was fun.
Yeah, when I met him, I asked him about, and I'll get your opinion on this too. If Jason Carver is a villain, because we as the viewer know the entire story that it wasn't Eddie Munson, it's Vecna. It's a
Mhm.
supernatural being unaliving these kids.
Mhm.
Jason doesn't know that. Jason only knows Eddie Munson thinks he killed Chrissy's found in the trailer,
Right.
associated with Eddie Munson, hunting him down.
Mhm.
Jason basically causes Max's death because he stops Lucas,
Mm.
or you know,
Yeah.
keeps Lucas busy while Vecna does
Right.
his thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Jason said he was still torn about it. He was like, "That's a hard question," because I mean, Mason said he was still torn about it
Mm-hmm.
because Jason's doing the right thing, but obviously
Mm-hmm.
as a viewer, he's the villain,
Right.
potential villain. What do you think?
Well,
Same?
it kind of connects back to Steve with the whole Jonathan thing. He didn't know that they were just in the woods with the Demogorgon, and she was
Hmm.
traumatized, and that's why he was
Right.
comforting her. So it kind of goes back to that. I think like what you said though, he doesn't know about what's happening with like what happened to Chrissy and all that. So I think again, he just didn't know the whole story. So he obviously doesn't think he's bad, but people view him as bad. But
That's true.
like, but then if you were in the same situation, like if you heard that this weird Eddie guy was hanging out with your girlfriend and then she
Yeah.
gets murdered, like you would be kind of freaking out too. So yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that was a really good perspective with Steve. He's not, yeah, he's perceived bad because we know what's happening,
right.
but
Well, I
he
mean, I
does
know he
it.
has the whole jock, popular
Persona.
guy
Yeah.
persona too, but that I thought was the reasoning behind like with what happened with
Hmm.
Nancy and Jonathan. So
This made me think.
Mhm.
This made me think.
Yeah,
I'm rethinking a lot of things.
yeah.
Um, okay, so obviously we've been talking nerdy, but is there something in your life that you're completely nerding out about? Doesn't have to be collecting, can be anything. Right
Mm,
now I'm nerding out about kiwis. I'm
Kiwi.
obsessed with kiwis right now.
Yeah. Um, Honestly, no. There's nothing like particular. Um, it's just our store and uh just
Shout out Three Daisies Vintage.
yeah, thanks. And yeah, just being evolved with Stranger Things and like different things and trying to grow my Instagram, that kind of thing. So it's just yeah. Nothing
Oh my gosh.
certain. Not as cool as Kiwis, but yeah.
Speaking of Instagram, we're recording this episode. It'll probably drop before the TikTok ban.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Instagram is a hard beast to conquer.
Yes, very.
I so I right now on one of my biggest performing videos on TikTok did 500K. I
Nice.
got 1,000 followers from it.
Mhm.
I'm closing in on 600K on one video on Instagram, 100 followers.
Mhm.
I was like, how does Instagram is so hard? And I'm like, I feel like I'm starting from scratch again.
Very hard. Yeah, no, I was just talking about that the other day with somebody that it's yeah, TikTok, yeah, they all develop their own scene on there, but then there's also Instagram and yeah, I've seen that where people have a lot on TikTok but not as much on Instagram. I never branched out to TikTok because Instagram's big big enough beast to deal with on its own.
Yes.
But for me and but again, I think mainly my account's just with the vintage stuff, but it's hard because I try to like just do also just what I'm into. But
Yeah.
but people start to expect and think that you're gonna see just vintage or I've started being friends with a bunch of Stranger Things people and stuff like that, and I think they're kind of like, oh, what's this? And like the
Yeah.
vintage people are like, oh, what's Stranger Things? Like, so it's hard to like teeter, and also like sometimes toy companies will send me stuff, and like it's hard to like keep up with everything, honestly. I feel like
Mhm.
it's a lot, but it's also like what I want to do. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. But
Yeah.
yeah, speaking to your point, it's once you're in a niche, you're
Mhm.
almost stuck in that niche.
Yeah. Yes.
I cannot. I love Stranger Things so much, but if I have like one hyperfixation, like I just watched Wicked. If I want to show Wicked merch or something,
Mhm.
they're they're quick to knock me back down.
Right? I
Like the
know.
comments will be like, "Stick to Stranger Things,
Mhm.
Cubby, go back to Stranger Things." I'm like, damn, let me post one thing. Like,
Yeah.
geez, I am so niched and I'm so lucky it's given me so many opportunities. But
Yeah.
like this show, Stranger Things, I'm talking to everybody listening. The show is about nerds. This
Mhm.
party, they're nerds. They're playing Dungeons and Dragons. They're reading comic books. They're reading X-Men. Actually, in this season,
Hmm.
Mike is going to have a Star Wars poster. Like everything I like, everything we talk about,
Right.
it's all the like influence and the inspiration for Stranger Things.
Well, and everybody's a nerd of something, and it just
Exactly.
whether they know it or not, they are honestly. But I think like what you're saying, like with Stranger Things, like people might know you most for Stranger Things. People might know me more for the vintage toys and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But and that's what I feel like everybody grows to like love them for.
Right.
And I think same with like even all the actors and stuff like that. And since we're on Stranger Things, like with all them, they've all
They're
done
gonna be
so
known
many.
for the one thing.
Right. They're all great in so many different things, and
Right.
like with Joe and Maya and all of them in their music and stuff like that. But I mean, that's what that's what kind of got them into the whole ballpark itself though. So I mean, I
Uh-huh.
think I mean just like that's what they're going to be known for. Just like Will Ferrell's going to be known as Buddy the Elf probably his whole life, you know?
Yep.
It's just I mean, it's just something that it's just going to stick. I mean,
You know
so
what? Good perspective.
yeah.
This is the other thing too. I'm so glad you said that because one of the great things about this podcast is that I hear other people's perspectives and I realized, and I've said this many a time, I have a pessimistic outlook on majority of things.
Yeah, me too.
But you're right. Like, you should just be grateful people know know you
Yeah.
for the thing that you love, the thing that
Right.
you did. And even Gayton has gone on in another podcast and said, I've already accepted that Dustin's probably going to be the thing I'm known the most for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
He's also said like I might have peaked already with Stranger Things,
Mhm.
but I think Stranger Things like because of how big it is,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of the Marvel actors talk about this too because
Right.
how big it is, how
Mhm.
lucrative it is, they can go on and do other passion projects
Yeah. I
that are
just
maybe smaller but don't pay or whatever it is, but
right.
they get more freedom to go
Yeah.
do
I
whatever they
mean,
want.
and it's not a bad thing, honestly. I mean, it's like I know a lot of people are like sometimes they're like I don't want to be affiliated with that anymore, even though
Yeah.
that's what was their bread and butter kind of thing.
Uh,
But yeah, no, I heard Sebastian Stan the other day say something about Bucky being his like his brother, like he feels like he's his brother that he sees all the time, like that kind of thing. And I think
yeah.
people it's like better to like almost accept it because it's kind of I mean it's something they signed on for and it's something like I've signed on for that kind of thing. So I mean it's not technically a bad thing. I mean you can always branch out and do other things, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, but it is kind of what it is. So yeah.
That's true. I will
Yeah.
forever be the Stranger Things guy.
Yes. And I
Uh,
always be the little squeak girl, dog toy girl.
I am like praying. I'm like, please, Duffer Brothers. I know we're gonna get an animated show. I know we're getting the Broadway show, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I need another spin-off because I
Yes.
can't. I can't let my niche go away
Yeah,
now.
I know, right?
That's what I'm
Everybody's
like.
like Stephen Robin spin-off. We need that.
Yeah, that'd be good. I would love to
Mhm.
see Steven. I would love to. Honestly, I guess Steve could go anywhere. Honestly, Steve and
Yeah.
Robin would be great. A Steve and Dustin one would be good too.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I was trying to think what other spin-offs I would really like to see, but yeah, something with Steve would be the best thing.
Yeah.
As long as he, as long as he's alive at the end.
I know.
I have him in
He
my top five being
I,
unalived.
oh yes. No, to be
To be
not make it?
unalived, to not make
Oh.
it to the end.
Oh
Steve,
no.
Dustin, 11 Will, and then Robin.
I have theories and I have people that I think aren't going to make it.
Ugh. As long as they don't touch Nancy. Wait, who do you think isn't going to make it?
I don't think Robin's going to make it for some
See, I
reason.
don't either.
Um
And I think
uh
because Maya said, like, she'd be okay if they killed her off.
mhm.
I'm like, well, there you go. Sign yourself up.
Yeah, yeah.
Sign yourself up for it.
Um, but no, I think a lot of people like you just mentioned, I think a lot of people think it's gonna be Steve just to be dramatic and like I think they think it's gonna be Dustin and 11. Like
Uh-huh.
but I also think that they're like it's like not gonna happen if that makes sense, you know? I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, we won't know, but it's just based off everything I've seen and all that. And I won't say anything, but I'm all for it's so bad. I like spoilers. I won't say anything, but I like live for spoilers. So I like knowing what
Really?
happens.
Okay,
Yeah.
wait. okay, let's talk about spoilers real quick.
Okay.
Why? What is it about it? Because like I'm like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Even like my favorite reality show,
Hmm.
I'm like, people post spoilers in the comments, and I've made it a point that whenever the new season's about to drop, I unfollow. I don't want to see it because people
Mm,
will ruin it for me in the comments.
yeah.
So what is it? What is it? Like explain, is it like knowing ahead of time and putting it together in your head and seeing how it plays out?
Kind of.
Yeah?
Honestly, so people are probably gonna hate me for this, and I'll probably do the same thing with season 5. But so I stayed up until midnight or whatever when season 4, the second part dropped, and
Hmm.
I was watching it by myself downstairs, and it dropped. I went to the very end and watched it all, like the last 20 minutes, and then went back and watched it from the start
For what purpose? For
to
what?
know what happened. So,
Is
spoiler,
it
but
because you just like can't wait?
yes, I talk to anybody I've talked to ever. I'm the most impatient person you probably have ever met. So
Okay, that's crazy.
yeah, so I went and watched Eddie and all that good stuff at the end, and then went back and kind of just cried my way through the rest of it.
Oh my gosh. So you saw
So
Eddie, you saw the
right.
end of Eddie, you saw the end of Max,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to go back and watch.
I
That's
did. It's
insane.
not even about like knowing first. I just like to, I don't know. I like to be prepared and I like to have stuff like right on, you
Huh.
know? So, yeah. But
Dang it.
terribly impatient, terribly, like really bad.
I've always wondered what it is with spoilers, but that's
Yeah,
actually,
yeah,
and no offense, that's actually insane.
yeah. Sorry, my
That's
dog's house.
actually
Oh,
insane.
I know. A lot of people are like, okay, you're nuts for that, but I'm like, well, it's just to each their own, and I feel like
Yeah, totally.
we'll all find out at one point. So, yeah.
True. We're all gonna
Yep.
know.
Yes,
Man, oh man.
I
All right,
know.
Kayla. You feel pretty nerded out?
Yes, always. Well, I can talk for hours, honestly, but yes.
I know that's the best thing is like honestly, and not even to be like talk about myself in this way, but like the podcast is like when you find talk to people who are passionate about what they're nerding out about,
Hmm.
the conversations can go forever.
Yes.
Like people are so passionate about their fandom, about their collecting.
Hmm.
So I'm so grateful you came here and shared with us what you were nerding out about. Stranger
Yeah.
Things. Oh, and I'm so happy that I learned about your antique store. That was really,
Yes.
really awesome.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's such a good thing. Like I've said it like 4 or 5 times. Shopping, being around collectibles, you're with your family, dream
Hmm.
job.
Yeah.
Shout out Three Daisies Vintage. Do you guys have an Instagram?
Yeah. It's at Three Daisies Vintage, and the number 3 is spelled out. So three,
There you
three.
guys go. Follow there. Where else can people find you?
Just mainly on Instagram, I think. Even for our store, I have Kayla Sunshine 32 is my main personal account, and then the shop account, and I think that's about it. So.
You know what? Good for you.
Yeah, I know we've talked about branching on YouTube and might do that this year, but we'll see where that goes. So yeah.
All right, you guys heard her. Three Daisies Vintage on Instagram.
Yeah.
Kayla Sunshine 32 on Instagram. You guys have to check out the antique toy collection she has. It is insane. It looks huge. Hundreds of things. Then you can take a peek at the Stranger Things stuff as well. You guys can see it in this video. It's huge. Absolutely insane. Kayla, again, I'm so, so grateful that you came out and nerded out with me. I appreciate it so, so much. Like I said, your collection is beautiful aesthetically. Your photography, it's light and beautiful and bright. It's
Yeah.
like the perfect representation of Kayla's Sunshine. That's exactly what you guys see when you go to that Instagram. So I'm so happy you were here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to do this. So, and it's
Thank
nice to
you.
meet you kind of virtually, I guess, for the first time too.
Right, yeah, we've been on like social media buddies.
Yeah.
Some mutuals, moots as the kids say
Right.
it, moots.
Right. Lots of Stranger Things moots.
Yep, the best kind, really.
Yes. Really are. Yeah.
All right, you guys, please follow Kayla again. 3 Daisies Vintage on Instagram. Kayla Sunshine 32. I am Cubbie Collects at Cubbie Collects everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, RIP. You guys can find me there. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to subscribe. And I think for right now, that's all I got.